Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the second capstone webinar. And this is going to be related mainly with the assignment and also what are going to be the next steps. So we know that you are now very recently with Robert here and also the rest of the staff discussing about the treks. So hopefully you are feeling very excited about what's coming now for you in the spring. So with me, also my colleague Maria.
Hello, everybody. Ready to work here with you.
Excellent. So we have prepared some slides to go very fast before giving you the good news or the bad news of what are the projects that have been selected and what you're going to be doing now in the pre-work in the fall, and also what is expected from you in this follow-up work before coming for the spring and also IAP. So let me just show you the slides now. So let me see, Robert taught me this. Robert, would you like to say hi?
Oh, yes, I'm here as well.
Yes. All right. This is his hand. Yes. All right. So as always, if you have any questions, comments, feel free to type it in the text field there in the YouTube, and we will try to address all your comments during the webinar. All right. So to start, now we will have this very brief outline. So we expect to get it done quite fast. We are going to discuss about the capstone project assignment. And later, we will give you a little bit of reminders of what we've been discussing before regarding the capstone and thesis differences, and how, in general, you can conduct applied research, right? What for us is research, which means it still is applied, but it still has to have some contributions for the scientific community. So we will discuss a little bit more about that in a moment. And then we will also continue with the follow-up and next steps, right? Okay. So now let's just present the rationale about the assignment. And the first thing is, as you remember, some of the projects were pre-selected and they were put in the pool. And if the project was selected by you, so which means it's your project as a first option, then the project was offered. Otherwise, we didn't offer it because it would have been kind of weird to manage the project that is coming probably from your company. Which other students are excited about it, but you are not taking part of it, it will be kind of suspicious, right? So this was like the first criterion we used for the assignment. And then the rest, as we discussed before, we took into account your preferences. So you were asked to select 10 projects, to rank 10 projects. So you could have been assigned to any of them. The field of interest, we also considered that as well. And also the research expertise of CTL, right? Particularly for the assignment of the advisors. Now, we said before that today we were going to tell you the assignment of the projects and also the advisors that are going to be working with you, and we will do it. But now in this webinar, we will just mention the assignment of the projects, and later during the day, we will send you an email with all the follow-up information and also with the contact information of the advisor or advisors that are going to be working with you for your capstone projects, right? Okay. So now this slide shows the student proposed projects that were selected, and you can find yourself, if this is the case that you were assigned to this project, and also the email. We will send this information still by email, but just to give you certain certainty of how it's going to be looking now the assignment of the project. So if you want, you can start reaching out for your partner. But now at this point, the important thing is that you see which projects were finally selected for the capstones, right? So these are the projects that were proposed by the students. And now these are the projects that were proposed by CTL researchers, right? And here you see again a mix of different projects related to urban logistics, sustainability, omnichannel, digital supply chain transformation, right? All right, so I hope that by now you have been able to find your name, and later we will send an email to follow up. So there is no need for you to now try to copy everything. And as always, we will have the video in the website, and also all the slides are going to be available for you, right? Okay, so now what are the key next steps? So later, Maria will elaborate a little bit more about this. But the most important part is that after this webinar and after receiving the email, let's say starting on Monday, you contact your research partner, which means your teammate, the other student that is going to be working with you If you have one, particularly for the case of the capstones, all of you are assigned in pairs so that you get along and also discuss, introduce yourself. In the case of the student proposed projects, there is one leader, the person that proposed the project. That person should spend some time explaining to the partner what are the objectives, what is the scope. Later, you're going to have another discussion with the advisor, and the scope of the project may still change or adjust, right? And there are other things. You will have also some time to contact your advisor, and later also contact the sponsoring company, right? If you recall. So I will not elaborate too much on this because later Maria will come back to these topics. But one key element that we have to stress out now at this point is the communication, right? Like now in the fall, because you are not physically here at MIT campus, it's very important to keep a way to follow up in a very structured, organized way. That's why we are requiring from you to send minutes, right? Minutes of all the meetings that you are going to be having with the partner, with the teammate, with the advisor, and also with the company, so that we know that the project is moving forward in the timeline and as expected. And these minutes are going to be sent to Tuba Fendigil, Dr. Tuba Fendigil. So here you have one template. In general, you are free to use any template you want, but if you want to use this one, the one that we use also in the last class, that's fine as well. So in general, all these minutes have the information related to the date, place, time, and also the participants or those people that attended the meeting. What were like the key elements that were discussed, but most importantly, what is the action plan? So the action plan describes the activities, who is the responsible, what is the deadline, right? And these minutes are super useful so that every time that we meet again with your either advisor or your teammate, you can always check this and just follow up who was in charge of doing what or when, right? So all this information will be sent later so that you have it also in your email. But for now, it's super important that you start owning the project and start communicating to us through Tuba in this case, so that we know that everything is going smoothly, and if it's necessary, any intervention from our side. Right? I don't know if you want to say something. We are fine, right?
Fully, yeah.
All right. So again, just to stress out this part, so we just changed. Before we were having student there. Now we have team, either 1 or 2 students, and there are going to be different stakeholders working with you through the whole process. And as you remember, we have now, well, Maria, of course, who is in charge of all the projects, capstone thesis projects of the Blended, Tuba, who is supporting, and Robert, who probably is the most famous person in the Blended program for now, at least in your case. He's being in touch with you deeply. He's going to be sending still information regarding deadlines and formats. You will have also the case of the support from the writing instructors. And then they will provide guidance on the writing and speaking. As you know, there is one instructor that is going to be in touch with you during the fall as well to give you support, and is going to be giving all this information in through the learning module at MIT. And you have also the project advisor. And this is also important, right? The project advisor is the advisor, right? This is not the owner of the project. You as a team, you are the owners of the project, and this is very important. So, which means you're going to be leading the meetings between the advisor and you, and also with the company, the sponsoring company. This is really critical, right? And the advisor is there to provide guidance and also review the content, right? So the advisor at the end is the one, together with the company, who is going to have the last word regarding your grade in the whole project, right? So you need to manage relationships, set up run meetings, arrange reviews, assignment deliverables. So this is just a reminder. We already presented this, I believe, for the 3rd time. This is the 3rd time, but it's important that you keep this in mind, right? By the way, if there are comments,
I'll do it right now.
Okay.
I'm commenting now.
Okay, fantastic, Robert. All right. So now a template for capstone versus thesis documents. Well, just to remind you, The capstone has different audience and purpose, right? So the audience in general are supply chain practitioners from industry, government, any organization that is sponsoring your project. But the purpose here is to tackle a real supply chain problem, right? Solve that problem. Still, we will follow two things, which is a research approach that I will discuss in a moment. And of course, it's expected that you will elaborate on the managerial implications, right? What could be taken from that project that could be also used for other companies in similar contexts. But the purpose in general is focusing on the real problem for the industry. Now, the thesis is different, right? When you write the thesis, even though you're going to be working with a sponsoring company, usually sponsoring companies do not read thesis documents, right? Why? Because it has different style, and mainly because the focus or the audience is for faculty or researchers that are also writing their own scientific papers and thesis, and they would like to use that also as part of the contribution that you will have in this community. That's why the purpose is also different. You want to advance the boundary of science. Solving the real problem, of course, is applied research, but this needs to be generalizable. I don't know if I say it correctly, Robert. But needs to be general, build managerial implications, right? To really go beyond just solving the problem for the company, but something that could be really applied for other companies as well. All right, so now just building in this concept again, capstone thesis, we said already, one is focused on solving real problem for industry, the other is building scientific contribution. But in general, the intersection, which is not shown in this chart correctly, but is 80% is intersection. You're going to be working actually same things, but that 20% of distinction is going to come to focus on building the scientific contribution or solving the problem for the industry, right? Just for you to keep this in mind. All right, so finally, a common misunderstanding on this is to believe that the research project, just because it's a capstone, it's like consulting project, right? And it's not a consulting. It's similar, of course, because we are really focusing on solving the problem for the industry, but still we're applying a research approach, right? So consulting is different, right? Consulting means you are going to probably just repeat a methodology that is already proven done before, and you're going to have more emphasis in the implementation for the company and tracking this in an approach that is very well known by consultants. They are quite experienced in this, and they have experience also working with different companies repeating similar approaches, right? In research, we try to build a little bit more than just having the same approach. We try to have something that will have a slightly novelty, as I said it in previous webinars. And the idea is to, of course, build knowledge, right? Apply research, build knowledge, even though the emphasis will be to solve the problem, right? Yes, Maria.
Yeah, one important point is that through whatever we capstone or thesis, you are going to create a value, right? So the audiences are different. So in the case of capstones, the value is going to be for the company or for the group of the team that you are going to work with. And in the case of the thesis, then the audience that's going to be the scientific audience, the value is going to be for them. Right, but in your case, the capstone project, the thesis projects are going to be learning experience, right? So then you are going to learn through providing this value. So it's important that you match the expectations of all the different stakeholders here, right? The company is expecting to receive this value, then you are gonna learn out of contributing this value, then you are gonna learn with your mate, from your mate, then you are gonna work with all the different team members of other projects in the environment of the blended program. So also the blended program itself is another stakeholder that you need to take into consideration, and the advisor, right? So the advisor in terms of the thesis is gonna expect additional contribution that if we compare with the caps on the two of them, of course, the advisor is going to receive contribution because they are going to work with you, right? But yeah, it's important that you align the expectations of the different stakeholders to the value that you are going to create through your project. So then we are going to emphasize on about this along all the presentation. Yeah.
Yes. So thank you, Maria. No, I agree, and it's actually quite clear. So in general, you are doing research, right?
Yeah.
And it's expected, regardless of working on caps and thesis,
Yeah.
to include managerial insights and at least intuitions on how this can be used by other companies. All right, so now let me just show you very briefly a part of a seminar that I did this year for the previous class, and they suggested that we should do it beforehand, before actually having you here in IAP for the spring semester. And probably this might be useful for you, hopefully. These are just my views in how to conduct applied research. So this is the disclaimer. It's based on what I've learned and also from other colleagues, but there are a lot of different ways for this, and that's why it's super important that you go and engage with your advisor, who is in the end the authority over your project, to decide about the methodology and give you the proper guidance on this. But in general, there are we will expect that there will be a more coincidence in this approach. So hopefully this will be useful, how you actually applied a research method on this, right? And if you recall, everything goes back to the scientific management, and the father of scientific management considered Frederick Taylor, and it was at that time, like the first attempt to use science in problems related to management, right? Management meaning also operators that were assemble things, right? And all this knowledge that he brought, how to map, how to actually use metrics, observation, analysis, actually brought a lot of improvements in efficiency, specifically related to labor productivity, right? And there were a lot of interesting concepts that he brought, and then later were also like the basis for many of the things that we do in logistics and supply chain management. So now you can go and consult how is the basis, but I will use now this scientific method in something that I believe it is the easiest way, which is biology. At least I took this information from that approach. However, I'm going to use it for something more related to physics. So I hope that this example is it's clear enough. So the first step in the scientific method is to make an observation, right? And this observation comes from being exposed to certain type of information, right? For instance, you have now a toaster and you want to toast bread, right? And it turns out that when you are trying to do it, then suddenly the toaster won't toast, right? So this is an observation. This is actually a fact. There is nothing there yet, but just a fact that you're observing when you are trying to toast the bread. So when you do that, the next step is, what is the question? So ask a question. So the question in this case is, why won't my toaster toast? So this is the question. Once you have a question, you can actually establish a hypothesis or a potential explanation for this that you can actually test. And usually this uses literature review for the problem, at least if we were talking about problem, again, in scientific management. But then you feel you build an idea. What could be the answer? This is your intuition. And you say, well, maybe the outlet is broken, right? And if the outlet is broken, therefore, it's not going to make the toaster work, and therefore, my toast will not be toasted. So now you have this hypothesis. And then the next is, well, make a prediction. How you can actually validate your hypothesis, right? So you need to build also a prediction. You say, oh, well, if I plug the toaster into a different outlet, then it will toast the bread. So this is a way to test it, right? So we try this in a different, and then we conduct the validation. If I plugged the toaster into a different outlet, then try again. What happens if at the end we get it, right? We get the information that now the toaster is working. Well, we still can now argue that probably the other outlet was broken, right? We still don't know. Could be other potential explanations, but at least we have now our observation that was validated by trying this with a different tool, right? Now, many times you actually iterate this to actually make new hypotheses or predictions. You know, I don't know, probably the baby was playing with the outlet and that's why it's broken. Probably, I don't know, other potential things. Maybe it's related more with the bread, things like that. Right? So now let me just stress out this. What we did here is actually just to follow very basic scientific methods, right? But there are key things, like, as I said before, asking the right question is probably the most important element, because this is going to lead completely what you're going to be doing in the rest of the process. Spending time here with the company and also with your advisors, trying to understand what is the problem and how you're going to establish these follow-ups with the proper research question is going to be a key element for the rest of your capstone. So once you do this, there are different approaches, right? Many advisors may want to spend more time in literature review, and the thesis for sure, you're going to be required to do this much more, mainly for just understanding how relevant is this problem and also what others have done, but could be also to really understand what are the other approaches and the methodology that you're going to be following for the rest of your capstone. And then, again, validation is almost required for both projects, and the managerial insights that, as we said before, for the case of the thesis is quite relevant to really trying to tackle how these results could be potentially used by other companies in other contexts. Right? Yes, Maria.
Yeah, this is why we put a lot of emphasis on access to data, analysis of data, in order to also, to provide value to the company, to provide value to the research team, also for you to learn to apply the different methodologies that you are gonna learn in our program, right? So we match all this research methodology with the different elements that are part of our blended program. Yeah.
Yes, excellent. So now this is just a reminder. Remember, research question, what exactly needs to be solved? What are my levers? Remember, again, the 3 guiding questions. This is actually becoming more relevant now that you're going to be really working on the project. So stating why this is relevant, and then finding figures, statistics, implications of why companies or stakeholders should care about that problem is key as well. When you're also writing your document, remember what others have done, which is the literature review, how you can select the right approach, and then what do you plan to do different, which is in general your contribution, right? All right, so far no questions, so we are great now. So Maria, now if you can continue with the follow-up and next steps.
Yeah. So then maybe I can take access to the here. Yeah. So the idea now is just for you to know what are the next steps, what are the main milestones you need to follow, and align these steps and milestones with all the different team members, right? With the company, with your teammate, of course, with the blended program. So, then we already presented all these different milestones, but we wanted to emphasize now because you need to take action now, right? So then the first, let's say, deliverable, the first assignment is October the 5th. So then you are gonna meet with your team member and then define the action plan. So what do you plan to do in order to provide this value, in order to be able to apply this method that we commented, in order to be able to answer your research question, right? Of course, it's an iterative process because maybe what you are planning now then will be changed in the next couple of months. We are okay with that, right? But because what we want is really to be able to progress in your method. So we are gonna propose you to some office hours since you are not here in the fall term. Sorry, then you will we will open the WebEx. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We will open WebEx. Actually, we will share the system and the final dates with you. And the idea is that you will be able to answer particular questions with us in terms of your particular project. Of course, your advisor is going to be there for whatever you need, but also we are going to be there for whatever kind of general question you will have about the research projects in the framework of the blended program. Then you will have the second milestone. The second assignment is expected October 26th. So you are going to present, you're going to progress on your project. So the next step will be to present your motivation. What are the clear statements and what is the, why this project, why this problem is relevant to the particular community, particular audience you are targeted, right? So then you need to work on that. This is not obvious. You need to go to the company, you need to go to the sponsor, whatever will be the researcher or the company, in order to clarify all these kind of things, right? So third assignment, third milestone, mid of November the 16th. Then we expect you to present the work you have been doing about literature review. Of course, depending on capstone in front of thesis, the literature review will be different, right? Because the audiences are different. So the sources of the literature will be different. In some cases, you will share some of them, of the sources, right? So, but for example, in the case of the custom projects, you are gonna have better sources from managerial kind of outlets. So then you can go to White report, you can go to, for example, my MIT Law Management Review, you will go to Harvard Business Review, you will go to some different reports coming from consultancy companies, for example, about your particular problem. But compared with thesis, typically, then you will go more to academic sources, so scientific sources, for example, peer-reviewed journals, right? And your advisor will provide you some hints about how you will be able to progress. And also you will have the resources here at MIT. So you have the e-library, so you can get access to most of these resources, to most of this literature. Then again, we have scheduled another block of office hours, potentially will be end of November. Again, we will let you know what are the dates. The idea is that we will work in advance to your next assignment, to your next deliverable, fourth assignment, November the 30th. You will present the research methodology that you have already decided, that you have already designed, and then you are going to apply hopefully for the next months. You will present also a working plan and what are your preliminary results. Of course, this is a cycle. Then you will feed up all this kind of loop, but then we want you to start delivering your preliminary results. We are already preparing all this kind of work for the main, one of the main milestone will be end of January. But this is why we included some milestones in the middle. So then the fifth milestone is the poster submission, is December the 12th. So then you will present a mature draft of your poster, because you are going to use this poster in order to show to all your mates in the residential program and in the blended program, but also to other companies and other associations, professional associations that will attend the milestone end of January, the milestone at the Research Expo. It's a good, very great exposure for you, just to start showing the value that you have already created with your mate, with your team, for this particular research project, right? We have the sixth milestone, the sixth assignment, that is January 9th and 10th. You will present in front of a committee of researchers what are your results so far, and then you will receive very valuable feedback from all of us about, okay, what you should emphasize, maybe what kind of data is better, what kind of methodology you can add to the a priori methodology that you have selected. So then we are helping you, we are providing support, not only your advisor, of course, but we, all the committee, all the researchers here, just for you to progress to the best success of your project. And then, as mentioned, we will have one of the most important milestones, that is January the 30th, with the India Research Expo, with almost 200 students coming from all over scale centers, coming from all over the world. Then you will be able to interact. This is why it's important that this poster is very well designed, has been very well progressed, in order to show the best of you in front of all these audiences. As you will see in this slide and on the top, then all this work will receive a grade for the blended program, pass or fail. But it's important that you put a lot of effort in here before coming to the campus. Be very well prepared for all of this. Do you want to mention something?
Just there is a question
Yes.
that says, can you advise on what is expected as preliminary result in November 30 deadline? I mean, I believe you already elaborated regarding the deliverable research methodology working plan preliminary results.
Yeah.
But maybe just to stress out this, at the end, what we want you is to have sufficient amount of content that you can use for your poster and your presentation, right? Like at the end, if you come with a clear motivation and the literature review, that is actually quite good,
yep.
right? It means you're in track. But of course, if you just go and present that, it's sufficient, right? But it's not great. So if you can get preliminary results, you can have some idea of the data, you have built some first intuitions of what you intend to do. That becomes quite interesting if you can really align that with the motivation, with the practice, with what the company really is looking for.
Yeah, some preliminary maybe test, some pilot tests, applying the research methodology to some part of the data. Of course, we are not expecting you to bring the main discovery. This is not expected at this stage of the project. But yeah, we are expecting to provide some minor value, because this minor value is important for your milestone at the end of January in front of all this audience. Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. So continue.
Yeah. So what is the differences between the capstone and the thesis? So in terms of assignments, in terms of deliverables, during this fall term, there are no huge difference about especially the deadlines. So you are gonna fulfill the same deadlines as we presented in the previous slide, exactly the same milestones and capstone projects, right? These 6 assignments. So you are going to receive also a pass or fail grade for completion of this pre-work during the fall term. But the most important part, we already emphasized in the committees, in the thesis committees with all of you, that it's important that you fulfill the main expectations from the thesis point of view, that just to provide value to the scientific community, right? This is why you will continue being in a probatory stage. So then every single milestone, we will check that you are progressing in the right direction towards this main goal of the thesis, just to contribute to the scientific community, right? You are gonna also have some thesis program meetings with the committee in February, second thesis progress meeting in April. Yes, you continue being a probatory stage, and then you can, just for you to know and wanted to emphasize, that you can be switched to capstone track in each of these critical meetings. If we detect that there is not enough scientific content, there is not enough scientific value, so then keep working hard according to the expectations of the thesis, especially with the advisors. The advisors have a very good experience in all of this, so then no worries, that you will have a lot of support from them.
We have a question here. It says, in case of thesis, what does switch to capstone mean? Will the same project be converted to capstone, or student will join to other capstone projects in progress? So the answer is that both can happen. The first one that we're going to try to do, if this is the case, is to just convert the thesis you are working into a capstone, which means more emphasis in solving the problem, as we explained extensively before. But if this is not possible for whatever reason, and of course, another option is that you will join another capstone project, not from those that already have pairs, but maybe other type of projects that we already have. So, but this is really not very good news.
Yeah.
Right. So don't think like that. On the contrary, try to move forward. I mean, prepare very strongly for all these checkpoints, these meetings to check the progress. And that's why we mentioned this now, new office hours sessions, right? Well, in these sessions, this is not mandatory. We wanted to find some time in which we could just give you the opportunity to just come, discuss your challenges, ideas, whatever you want. If we can be of any help, that would be fantastic. But to keep track, so that you are not getting into December, and then the progress is not done, or you haven't been, I don't know, in touch with the advisor for whatever reason, or the company is not giving the data, or not signing the non-disclosure agreement, whatever reasons. So the idea is to keep a very open communication. So it's super important that as soon as you observe something happening, reach out directly to Tuba or Maria or me, and we will try to help you, right? So now that we will send all this information, the stage of this process starts by you being the lead and really managing all these relationships in the best way you can, so that really can succeed. We will do our best to really help you during all the process.
And this is where we have included all these kind of milestones. When we detect any risk, we will let you know, right? So then, yeah, we will give you opportunity, to focus more on this scientific contribution. So we will let you know, right? But it's true that you need to be very aware, quite aware about all these different milestones and different implications. Yeah.
Yes. So don't be afraid. All right. So let me just go back. So what is the next? Yes. So let me just go back to the slides, Maria.
Yep. So then Josue already introduced this slide. The very first next step is contact your research partner, right? So today we are gonna send you the emails that you will have, like the official announcement of the capstone allocation, right? And then you will know who is your partner, what is your project you are gonna work in. So this is the best first step, right? Second step, contact. Once you have already contacted your partner, then you will contact your advisor, right? So this is important that you align very well what is the communication. As Josue already mentioned, this is extremely important since you are in different parts of the world. Then it's important that you stress communicating, that you organize the meetings with clear goals, with clear expectations. We recommend you to use Dropbox because it's a very easy way to share information, share your progress, share the literature you are going to use. It's expected, so it's a kind of mandatory, because we think that it's really good for you to develop some minutes, and then we are going to keep track of these meetings. So please send to Tuba. Then the advisor maybe could ask you to receive also these minutes, but it depends on him or her, the advisor himself. Or whatever kind of additional element you will need that will enrich the communication part. Also, with the advisor, share the vision, the approach. In all the cases, we have one-page description, but in some other cases, you will have more additional content that is already available now, right? So then it's important that in this first meeting, you align this vision and approaches. Also, what are your motivation expectations? So as we already mentioned, there are different stakeholders involved in this project. So it's important that maybe you align your motivation. So maybe, I don't know, maybe you could expect to have opportunities to be recruited by these companies. I don't know. So then maybe it's good that you align these motivations, right? And your expectations. So maybe some of you are better in terms of data analytics, and maybe others you are better in terms of strategic alignment, right? So it's good that you align the expected contributions with your advisor and with your partner. Is there any question, or I will continue?
Well, there is one question that says minutes and assignments should be uploaded to Stellar website as a final record. The answer is yes.
Yes. This is part of the process. And remember that you are going to receive a grade out of all this work during this fall term. So third step is contact the sponsoring company, if there is a sponsoring company. So just to set up a kickoff conference call as soon as you can, start as soon as you can, right? So to introduce the different team members there in the sponsoring company. In some of the cases, even with the research project, there are sponsoring companies, right? So then it's important that you align with the team members. Also align the expectations. What are the next steps? Typically, it's good for the company to know what are the academic timeline. So what are the main milestones that we here from the blended program we are expected to fulfill? All these 6 assignments that we already mentioned. And also, where are your availability, right? Because just to clarify with them that even though you are going to be here with us in the campus in January, you are officially working on this project right now. So then you are expected to have availability to work in the project, so the company should know all these different time patterns. And only if possible, of course, because most of you are in different locations. So if you think that is appropriate, if you think that is feasible, discuss a potential site visit during this fall term, right? So then it would be great if you can visit and meet personally with the team members in the company, only if this is feasible, of course. Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
guess that a lot of questions, a lot of particular maybe insights from your side, and then you will be willing to know more about your particular project. But feel free to ask whatever kind of question now.
It's a good
Happy
time
to answer.
Yes. So maybe just to stress out a little bit more about what you just said, Maria, like last year, I got a couple of students. One was in California and the other was in Japan, right? And I was in Boston. And I was the advisor, and just to try to schedule the work in the fall was challenging, but it was still exciting, right, for some. So still we made it work, and actually the project was super good at the end. So keep an open mind, have a lot of patience, right? If you are leading the project because you propose that project that you're working, spend time with your teammate, explain the context of the project, the importance, and also connect with the company so that you can go very smooth, right? But it's super important that you start the connection as soon as possible. And if there are any challenges you are facing, please keep us posted. Don't wait until the very end. If there is something happening with the agreement with the company, challenges, whatever, is more important to know this now. And if we can do anything to help, for sure we will do it. Right?
Yeah, it's important that you bring a very positive and proactive attitude, right? So try to be as much supportive as you can with your mate, with the company. You own the company, so then sometimes maybe the company representatives are extremely busy, and then you don't receive the answer as you would like, right? So then, bring a positive, a very proactive attitude.
Nice. Okay, so no more questions, Robert?
No.
All right. So if you have any further questions after we send the email, feel free to reach out. And well, it was really nice talking to you.
Definitely.
So we are getting close, very close to having you here. So very excited about that. So
looking forward to working with all of you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend.
Yep. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Bye.